we counted up the other day how many rulers we had in the store, and if you saw the email, it said like 120 plus. And I remember asking Cleo, no, don't count every ruler, you know, 3 of this one, 4 of that one. She goes, I didn't. And I went, oh my goodness. So hence why we decided, because there's rulers out there that you look at and you kind of wonder, what are there? Why were they made in the first place? So we just started to make a list of rulers that we wanted to learn and see and do some samples with, and that's how our list started. And so the first one is one that I've admired, and some of you have actually used the shape cut, which is a very easy way to cut strips. And this one is the curved slotted ruler. And with it, it's a very similar idea where we can cut gentle curves from fabric. It's a very forgiving way to sew curves together, which I'll also show you. And what we start off with, first off, it's a great way to use up scraps. So if any of you have taken the scrap therapy classes from before and you've cut strips up, or you have some chunks that you've set aside as you've finished quilts and there's leftovers, there's some neat ways to actually kind of use them up along with using this ruler. This is kind of what you're after here. That is a sampling of what we're going to do. And aren't these fun, this little extra color? That's what happens when your pieces aren't big enough for the original size. Because what the ruler is set up for is to start off with a 9 by 13 inch rectangle. So from a 1/4 yard, you can get 3 of them. Okay? Or if you have pieces that are not all the way the right size, you can add a little end cap to them. Since we're going to be working with curves, best press. If you haven't been using this, it's wonderful. Spray all your fabrics and press them. It kind of gives them a nice starch. And so as the curves and bias take place and you're stretching them a little bit when you're sewing them, it kind of holds them all together. And now with the best press, after you buy the spray bottle, we not only have the gallon refills, but now the quart refills. So of all the different flavors. So if you have your favorite scent, you can refill them more economically. Okay, so the slotted ruler is, we can go ahead and lay these on. As what you want to do is all your pieces do need to be right side up for this to work. Okay. If you line up, there's going to be a total of 7 pieces as you cut. So if you have 7 rectangles all layered up, your block will have 7 different pieces all together. If you do 2 colors, one color and a second color over here, you'll end up with every other color being mixed in there. You might find too how much pressure you have on your rotary cutter with your wrist, and if you find yourself not being able to cut through 7 layers, then you might do those in segments, maybe do 3 and then do 4. Okay, so you lay your ruler down, and there's little teardrops at the beginning and at the end to place the rotary cutter. New sharp blade, highly recommended. And also, you don't have to use the small blade to get into these little curves. Some templates that are curved, they want the small blades. 45 millimeter blade will work just fine because you will have layers, so you kind of want the little bit bigger rotary cutter there. So as you lay that down, you've got lines from here to here, from 0 to 13, and then from 0 to 9. So that kind of shows you about the size to work with. What if you wanted to make bigger blocks? You could definitely still use this ruler. As you set up and cut, you'll cut as far as you can, and then you can almost just take the ruler off and cut with scissors and go just a little bit further, kind of making the shape gentle to continue the lines. All right, so as we lay this down here, set this in, and just go ahead and cut all the way through. All the way along. And just go ahead and cut. All right. Now the last part is the fun part, I feel. Okay, so here's our different segments. We can see them. And now we shuffle. So we'll take this top piece and shuffle it down to the bottom. Take the top 2 pieces and shuffle them down to the bottom. And so forth, all the way through. Now to keep all your pieces really going, stay together while we go to the sewing machine, we're going to work with chain piecing them all together. So when you're sewing, you're going to end up with this, with however many blocks that you're going to do. You'll end up doing all your segments all at once. So if you have multiple blocks you're cutting, cut one set, sew it. Cut the next set and sew it, because then if you stop, you'll know where you are. Okay. There's going to be a variety of fun patterns that are available. I'll pass a couple of these around, and then we'll get ready to sew. When you're ready to sit down to sew, you can use the ruler to kind of scoop up all your pieces and bring them from your cutting table over to your sewing machine. So we're going to start off with the first row. We'll take our 2 pieces, and they will match as you look at them. But of course, when you put your 2 1/4 inch, your 2 edges together and get ready to sew your 1/4 inch seam, well, they don't really match. I don't usually use pins. You can if you want, but if you just hold your 2 pieces together, and as you sew, set your machine to stop with the needle in the down position. Now I am using the Husqvarna Viking Sapphire sewing machine, and it has the exclusive sensor system. So right now when I stop, the needle stops in the down position in the fabric, but then it lifts the foot up. And I will have to say, this is the greatest machine to use when sewing curves, because every time I need to kind of stop and lift up the foot, it kind of relaxes those curves. It makes them easy to kind of pull together as I work down to the next little section here. You can use a stiletto too. That's going to help, especially when we get down to the end and we don't have the pieces to hold on to anymore. These blocks have a great fudge factor. They are going to square up to about 8.5 inches. So if you're not perfectly even when you get to the end, it is okay. Once you're done one set, do the next set. Work all the way down your entire group, chaining them together. And then that way, if you get interrupted, it's okay. It's easy to find where you are. All right. These are just gentle curves, so they're a great seam to work with if you haven't done any curve piecing before. Okay, you can use the stiletto if you need, kind of help you get that last little piece to finish where it needs to go. Another nice thing about this block is we will sew all 7 strips together before we have to press. So you can just stay seated and enjoy the sewing process. With all your pieces sewn together, it's time to press. And really what you just want to do is just press from the top side, just hold it out, run your iron across the seams, and whichever way they go, they go. Of course, you can always do a little coaxing with some best press and really get them to hold those creases down. Spray it down, and you're ready for putting them into the quilt that you have selected.